Hey everyone, this is Know Your Potential NYP episode 11, and we'll be talking about travel experiences, travel hacking, and daydreaming about our next international flight. Welcome to the show.
You're listening to Know Your Potential with David and Phil Ngo, your source for motivational insight and discussion of all things relating to business, technology, and life. We banter and interview like-minded individuals, striving to be the best version of themselves, generate value for society, and achieve the life they want to live.
Hey everyone, it's Phil Ngo here.
Hey everyone, and this is David Ngo. We have a very exciting show ahead of us. We're going to be talking about travel and all the little hacks about it, everything that we missed about it, and where we plan to go next as soon as we're allowed to fly again. Phil, let us know what we're going to be looking forward to right now.
Yeah. So before we actually get to that, let's do a little call out for some feedback because we love our viewers. We love what you guys think, and we take that into consideration with our episodes. So what is it that we talk about that would allow you to recommend us to your friends? Like, what do you like listening to? What do we talk about that we are able to take up 30 to 45 minutes of your time?
Yeah. So, I mean, some of our other topics that we have in mind were about finances, stocks, crypto, of course, talking about family, relationships, schooling. To be honest, pretty much about anything and everything we talk about. If you guys want to talk about drugs, we can definitely talk about drugs as well. I'm sure we've all tried one type of drug or another throughout our whole life. So, I mean, again, definitely whatever you guys want to talk about, please message us, let us know. We'll be more than happy to bring it up on one of the future episodes.
For sure. And now getting back to what this episode's all about. I mean, I don't know about you, David, but I'm getting sick of just traveling to my bathroom, to the local grocery store, and to the gas station.
You know what? At first it was cool. This whole, stay local, fly local, travel local, everything. But we've been doing it for about over a year now, and I've done a lot of local stuff. And I really just can't wait to get back on a plane and get to somewhere hot, sunny, beaches, and actually be served by people, have a nice little mojito or something. Just honestly, get the heck out of here. I can't wait.
Sound like when you travel like a rock star.
You know what it is? I like to travel like a rock star, but I don't pay retail prices ever. So that's actually one of the things we're going to be talking about going on this episode is travel hacking. So pretty much, how do you travel like a rock star, meaning being able to travel in business class, first class, but not have to pay retail price of business class or first class? So
yeah,
Phil,
because,
what tips do you have?
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure when it comes to airline margins and profits, most of their income actually comes from those seats, those first class, those premium economy or business class fares. But obviously, for the rest of us who are actually flying, we want to get it for the best price. So when it comes to using travel hacking to your advantage, I mean, one of the biggest things that people talk about is something called churning. So churning is basically being able to utilize your daily spending activities and be able to maximize the kind of rewards and take advantage of these reward programs that the airlines are offering you to make it, more for loyalty, but also, for a bargain for you as the consumer.
Yeah. So when I travel, what I like to tell people is I like to ball on a budget. So what that means is when I travel, I do enjoy traveling in business or first class, but paying retail is astronomical price. It's really quite ridiculous. Some of the best tricks to do it is to pretty much earn points. So you can either earn points, like Phil said, either by churning credit cards. One of the other ways to do it is pretty much purchase points when they have a ridiculous sale on it. So sometimes they might have a sale where it goes purchase X amount of points and you get 100% more points for free, or purchase X amount of points and get it for half price. And the thing is with all these points, what you have to keep in mind is that the points are only good, or in my opinion, most useful, or you get the most return on your investment if you're actually using the points to travel business or first class compared to using the points to travel economy or, pretty much very local. Because again, use the amount of money you're getting back for your ticket when you're flying economy, from close city to city is very, very different from when you're using those points to fly first class on a flight from Montreal to Japan, let's say. So again, you have to be smart about your points and know when to use them.
Yeah, it's pretty simple math when you really think about it, because you just need to figure out, how much are you paying to get one airline point, right? So at the end of the day, you're able to easily calculate this by, looking at your credit card's reward program and actually just calculating how much does it cost for me to acquire this point. And then all you have to do is figure out when you're redeeming it, how much can I extend the value of that point? And generally, at least in Canada, at least, the very standard rate is, like a cent a point is kind of like a pretty standard redemption. But obviously, if you can extend that to like 2, 3, 4, or 5 cents per point, I mean, then you're really using the points to their advantage at that point.
Yeah, so to kind of figure that out, also what you want to do is you usually have to go onto the airline's website, and it tells you how many points is required to, how many points you have to use to redeem an economy ticket or a business class ticket or a first class ticket. So let's say if you go with the first class ticket, you see how many points you require for that one. What else you would have to check is what is the cost of a regular first class ticket price would be. So you would take your points, calculate how much it would cost to purchase all those points, and then again, usually in my calculations, I think you save about something like 40% from the retail pricing when you're actually using points to fly business class or first class instead of paying retail.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is this travel hacking thing that we talk about really depends on your own research, because it's different according to, if you're in the United States or in Canada, you definitely get better deals with credit cards in the United States. But because, Dave and I are both Canadian, we can only work with credit cards that we have access to, for example. So doing your research and being able to figure out the best way to acquire points, but also the best way to spend points. We can't give you like, a recipe that works for everybody. It just
And
takes some research.
And with this also, what you have to keep in mind is that when you're trying to build up your reputation or your airline points, usually you want to try to stick to one airline or a airline alliance program together. Because again, the thing is, if you spread yourself out too thin and you're flying with a whole bunch of different airlines that have different partners, you're going to have a little bit of points everywhere, which you're not going to be able to end up using. So what I usually do, or the best reward program that I like to use, I think Phil, you also like them also, is the One World Alliance. And with
Yeah.
One World Alliance, the airlines that you can fly with them would be American Airlines, British Airways, Qatar Airways, Japan Airlines, Qantas, Cathay Pacific. So again, you really have to pick and choose where you want to allocate all your spending so you can earn the most amount of points with that one program. Again, instead of having a little bit of points with 5 different programs, which will get you nowhere ever.
For sure. It takes a little bit of planning and being able to have the goal, but also attaining it. So if you know that, say, you want to go to Japan Airlines is part of the One World Alliance, and you got to figure out a way to either utilize Japan's point system or one of their alliance partners to obtain the points necessary to get a ticket on, say, Japan Airlines. So you just got to set some goals for yourself. Where do you plan to go? What kind of program would benefit me most, and which one should I focus on and start collecting points for, so I can start to build up what I need to get that business class flight on, say, Japan Airlines. So that's one of the things you got to figure out first and do a little bit of planning and then research around that.
Yeah. So again, that's pretty much just like anything in life, right? The more you plan, the more effort you spend, organizing it properly, the more efficient it's going to be, the better it's going to be, the cheaper it's going to be, the flights, you're going to find certain flights that you prefer to fly on certain times or certain airplanes even. So for me, for example, I like to fly on certain airplanes specifically. So I will plan my route a specific way to make sure that I'm able to fly with that airline on that airplane just to try it out. So again, it does come back down to planning, but again, the more you plan, the more enjoyable your trip is going to be.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, for example, I use the Japan example because I had actually done that for myself before, where I actually utilized Alaska Airlines, which has one of the best points redemption systems, I think, and is also part of the One World Alliance, where I use those points to get onto a business class fare on Japan Airlines for pretty much 50% of the retail value. And I did that basically by buying points outright when they were on sale.
And you know what? So pretty much some of the best resources to get some of these information or updates, because again, with these airlines, they have promos and specials every few months. And there are a few websites or a few people who pretty much professionally, specifically, this is their job. They fly around the world. They try out a whole bunch of different planes. They try out a whole bunch of different airlines, and they pretty much write reviews on it. And so a few of the guys that I like to check out online to see, get some information and do some quick numbers, like when they have promotions and sales, they also do the math and break it down for you to tell you if that promotion is actually worth it compared to their previous promotions they had, or if it's actually not as good. So you can kind of just figure out a lot of the stuff without doing the homework yourself in that sense. One of the guys would be the Points Guy is his website. Phil, you like the Prince of Travel? Is that what it is?
Yeah, so Prince of Travel is this guy named Ricky Zong. He is, I believe he's located in Toronto, but he does a lot of this for Canadians specifically, which is why I use him for a lot of things. Assuming most of our listeners are also Canadian, he would be able to give you information on the stuff that we have access to here, including all the Canadian credit cards and which one is better for travel and such.
And if not, there's also 1 mile at a time. His name is Lucky. He's been doing this. I honestly don't know. I had to make 15, 20 years flying. Just when you go to some of these websites, you actually see the way they review a lot of their flights and all the pictures they take and all the attention to detail they put into reviewing their flight is quite spectacular. Another good forum to look at is FlyerTalk.
Yeah, so FlyerTalk actually has it's like one of those old school forum boards, and they have a lot of information from contributors all over the world for all these different points programs too. So if you're looking at other airlines, Canada's biggest one is Aeroplan with Air Canada, but Aeroplan is not necessarily the best reward program depending on what you're trying to do, right? So you would be able to look into all these other programs and what other people are doing and sort of just share knowledge and try to churn the best way possible.
So what's cool at FlyerTalk also is that there's actually again, it's a forum, so there's actually a lot of people who share information on there. And sometimes, whether it be intentional or accidental, some of these airlines will have ridiculous price fares, and meaning, for example, a $2,000 round trip flight somehow might be on sale for $400. And sometimes, again, most people don't know about these specials or these hot fire sale, if you want to call them. But when you're actually on some of these forums, they know and they're going to share, because the reality is they might buy the one ticket for themselves, but they can only do so much after that, right? So for them, they share that information. And usually once they share it, all the tickets are probably sold out within the next hour or two. So again, keeping your eye out for these really, really cheap hot fire sale tickets is really worth your while sometimes.
Yeah, and actually recently, like Aeroplan, which is the biggest one in Canada, actually became the I guess the main loyalty program of Air Canada specifically. But before it became this, there was actually so many different ways for you to acquire Aeroplan points. You could have bought stuff on like the Aeroplan e-store, where like every dollar you spend on Amazon, for example, also contributes to you getting Aeroplan points. But at the end of the day, all it comes down to is research, because the more you spend, if you know how to figure out how to reward you or to be able to double up on things, that would help you out a lot.
Absolutely. So, I mean, now that we kind of have an idea as to how you can, travel for nicer, for cheaper, how to buy points, how to churn credit cards. Phil, what's one of your main reasons that you travel? What do you like? What do you love most about traveling?
Well, I think when it comes to travel, I believe that it's one of those things to really expand your horizons. It actually makes you a more smarter, brighter, more diverse kind of person, knowing that you are able to see things from a larger lens, because everything that you see around you right now is all that you know. And if that's the case and you haven't seen what it's like, for someone in India or someone in China or someone in all these other like non-westernized countries, I find that it's actually, I appreciate what I have a lot more, and it really changes my perspective and to sort of respect what I have available to me here in Canada.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on those points also. Definitely prior to traveling, I was kind of stuck in my own little bubble, didn't know too much about outside, uh, maybe a little bit ignorant as to what outside of Canada is, what people are like, how the cultures are, how the food is, how everything is, how people are treated differently. Um, so definitely for me is when I travel to certain countries where it's a much more affluent country, let's say when I travel to China, say Japan or China or Shanghai, certain cities, some of these cities are super, super, super expensive. And again, when you're seeing all of these massive buildings, expensive cars, everything's expensive, it kind of makes you want to strive for more. And you're like, wow, I got to go home and work harder so I can earn more money and be able to achieve all these different type of things. But on the flip side, when you go to certain countries which are much more poorer and you see people living in shacks, people who don't have washrooms in their home, you kind of realize you're like, fuck, my life at home is really, really, really good. Like I'm so lucky to be born where I am, have what I have. I may not be, super rich. I may not have this. I may not have this, but I have a washroom in my home. And that is a luxury to some people in some countries, which is, it blew my mind when I learned about this. So again, when I was in Africa, and in the shanty town, that's what it was. So it's pretty much people living in homes there where they do not have a washroom in their house, and it's like a communal washroom, a public washroom. And imagine being a woman or a wife, a daughter or a girl in the middle of the night when you need to leave your house to go pee or do number two or whatever it is. It's very, very scary and very unsafe that everybody has to leave their house in the middle of the night to use the washroom. So again, we are so fortunate to have something as simple as having a washroom inside our house, which we all take for granted, for sure. It's not even a thought in our mind of not having a washroom in our homes, right, Phil?
Oh yeah, for sure. And just to add to that, I mean, um, there is this perception because just based on the way that we grew up, we were taught to think that you work hard all your life, and then at the very end, when you retire and you have your money, you have your pension, then you go and do the things that you want to do. And I have a very, very different philosophy on how travel should work. I think you should travel periodically throughout your life so you can see all of this, not necessarily by like what by the time you're 65 or anything like that, but also because you have the ability when you're young and you're vibrant and you actually have the ability to physically go and enjoy your different travels and be able to see all of this. It really makes you appreciate it. And at the end of the day, you don't want to do this all at, like, say, the near end of your life. By that time, you want to hope that you have seen and done enough that you'd be happy to be where you are when you're
Yeah,
65.
I totally agree with you on that. Again, I see too many people who say who don't travel or don't travel much, or say, no, you know what, I'm saving all my money for retirement, which again, it is not wrong. Again, it depends on each person and their finances as well. But the reality of it is you can travel around the world on a budget as well. And the thing is, when you're traveling around the world, it's food for the soul, but at the same time, you get to learn so many things and experience so many things and have so many amazing memories that when you come back home, that experience or that journey could be something that leads you on to your next business or your next idea or your next anything, right? So again, the more you open yourself and your eyes to different cultures, different opportunities and possibilities, the more potential you have in your future of starting something else new or different, which you normally would not have known to do had you stayed in your little bubble at home the whole time, right?
Yeah, and also I know a few friends who actually met their significant others abroad, where they actually traveled together for a short period of time, or they met while they were traveling solo, whatever it may be. I mean, to think that, like, if you never traveled um, when you were young, had a little bit of money, had a little bit of time before you start your next job, kind of thing, like all of that, um, that triggered a whole new path in your life that never would have happened if you didn't travel.
Absolutely. Honestly, like, again, traveling could be as expensive as you make it or as cheap as you make it. The reality of it is, in Montreal, we can probably get a 7-day all-inclusive resort in Mexico for under $1,000, flight included. So again, $1,000 to have an experience for a week, just to be able to open your eyes, get away from the city, be on a beach, be served, be taken care of. It's again, it makes you appreciate travel that much more. So when you go home, you actually say, hey, you know what? I'm going to work hard again so I can make money, so I can travel again, see the world and enjoy it again. Because again, it's all just kind of like cycles in life, right? If you're only working and never traveling, that's very shitty. And if you're only traveling and never working, you can't afford that eventually. So again, with life, it's all about a balance. And like you said, traveling periodically, I find is the best way of doing it, just because like you mentioned, traveling when I'm 30 and 40 is going to be much different than when I'm 60 and 70.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Your safaris will probably be very different, I would think. Right. So
you know, and again, for the traveling, some of the things I enjoy most is food. The food and some of the places you get to travel to. For my all-time favorite, hands down, has to be Japan for food, in terms of the quality of the food. And the one thing I noticed that when I was in Japan is that regardless of the meal you're having, whether it be a $500 meal or a $10 meal, the chef there will put in 100% of his effort and heart and soul into whatever he's serving you. Because to these guys, I feel it's not just about money. To them, it's a passion. To these guys, they actually dedicate their life, sometimes making just one dish where they're known for. And people around the world will travel to this guy's shop just to eat that one dish that he's perfected. So again, in terms of food-wise, I find Japan and the culture, the way they treat food, nowhere else is the same, in my opinion.
It's pretty funny because like Dave and I had actually met once in Japan out of the blue. I don't remember the exact context, Dave, but anyways, we ended up in Tokyo around the same time, and we just met up, just to do things together, not knowing that we were going to be in Japan together.
Yeah, I was on my delayed honeymoon with Kathy, like 2 years, 3 years after our wedding. And I think I saw you on Instagram, something along the lines of, oh, I'm in Japan. And I'm like, oh, shit, I'm in Japan also. So we kind of just met up, we hooked up, and then we went out and we ate a whole bunch of food for like 2 days, I think it was, nonstop eating and great times. Again, that was an amazing experience, fond memories, and so worth it.
Yeah, for sure. And I've been to Japan a couple times. I think you have too, Dave, but it's pretty amazing to think that when you go to these different countries and you experience a little bit about their culture, the way they work, how they live, and all that stuff, it's pretty amazing to see the stark differences between some of our cultures and our societies. And that's sort of what I mean when I say travel sort of expands our horizon and our knowledge, because I don't know about you, but I think Japan is like at least 20 years ahead of us over here in Canada, in the sense, like, just even society, people don't steal things over there. That's not a thing. People don't litter there. People actually clean up other people's litter. You don't eat while you're walking around, stuff like that. And people wear masks there because they don't want to spread germs to anyone. That was normal before COVID.
Yeah, I was completely blown away the first time I arrived in Japan also. One, everybody is so polite and so helpful. Even if they don't know how to speak English, they will actually try their best to give you directions to help you. Again, they don't speak your language, but they're more than happy to try to look on your map to help you, figure out how to get to here, how to go there. So again, some of the kindest people are in Japan. And if there's any one country that I can say where it's the most closest to like a utopia, 100% I would say is Japan. The people there, everything they do is pretty much for the greater good. They follow all of the rules. Like, they literally follow all of the rules. Nobody there breaks rules, I feel. For example, something as simple as getting out of a metro station or a subway station. When the door is open, people know not to rush in to let people come out. In North America, you don't get that all the time, right? Another small thing is when there's construction. So when there was construction going on in Japan and you had to do a little detour walk around them, there's actually someone there who actually apologizes to you for the construction and for inconveniencing your day. And again, that's unheard of here. Here, when they have construction, they get the fuck around, go around us, we're working, that's the feeling here, right?
Yeah.
So again, very different in so many aspects. Like you mentioned, the whole no eating and walking at the same time. They have like 1 billion vending machines where they expect you to buy your drinks or snack, stand next to the vending machine, eat or drink your food, and throw it away, because nobody is supposed to be eating or drinking in the subway or on the bus or walking or anything. So crazy clean. So again, Japan is
Yeah.
A whole other world. If you guys have never been there, definitely make a trip there, check it out, because again, it is utopia. But on the flip side, I would never be able to live there just because there are too many rules and everybody follows rules. So maybe being from, North America, a little bit more of a cowboy, rules for me are meant to be bent and broken. And in Japan, that's not how it goes.
No, it's also a very different lifestyle in terms of like working there, because like I have friends who actually are living there, and it's the way that they work is completely different. They're working like hours upon hours a day, and there are certain like traditional things that you have to follow. So yeah, it is, there are trade-offs, but at the end of the day, the fact that you know about these little things like really expands your horizons, because you see what's possible out there. Like if you get rid of all the public trash cans in Japan, there's no garbage there. Nobody will be able to throw their trash out anywhere. So you don't walk around with, garbage in your hands. You
Well,
keep
which is the craziest thing, right?
Yeah.
So the first time when I was in Japan, I was walking around, I couldn't find a trash can anywhere because again, like people aren't expected to be eating or drinking on the street, so they technically don't need a trash can. And the trash cans that are available, it's literally super tiny and right next to the vending machine, because that's the only place you're supposed to be eating or drinking. So the first time I'm like, why the fuck are there no trash cans anywhere? How am I supposed to throw anything out? Only to realize after I shouldn't be having trash on me because I'm not supposed to be eating or drinking or anything as I'm walking or anything. So very interesting to learn different cultures. And again, just learning about or seeing their architects. So again, when I was in Japan, I was able to go from Tokyo to Kyoto. So for the people who don't know, Tokyo is pretty much the more of the modern city that's called like a New York of a style, where it's very fast paced. Everyone there is rush work. And Kyoto is about a 2.5 hour train ride. And that is the older capital of Japan. And when you actually go there, that's when you see a lot of people who are actually wearing the kimonos. You'll see the geishas. Everything is much slower pace. All the architect there is much older homes, like the styles of the homes you would see when you're watching one of those samurai Japanese, movies or whatever it is. So again, even in that one country, going from point A to B, you get completely different types of food, architect, people, cultures. Again, it's very different.
Right. I mean, this episode has almost turned into like a bit of like a tourism promotion for Japan. We promise we weren't sponsored by the tourism board or anything like that. It just happened that David and I were both there and we have shared experiences there together. But on the flip side, when you think of other countries, like you mentioned Africa, for example, like not all of Africa is impoverished. There are actually pretty wealthy nations in Africa. I had a friend spend some time in Kenya and telling me a little bit about Nairobi and stuff. Yeah, it's dangerous, but it's actually pretty modernized, a place that I'm wanting to check out at some point too.
Yeah. And again, honestly, for me, prior to ever going to, visiting Africa. So for me, I went to a few different countries, Namibia, Zimbabwe, I went to South Africa and a few other ones around there. And it's just what we see on TV and what we hear in the news and what it actually is when you're there is two completely different things. And the thing is, again, when I was there, people were super nice, people were super friendly. I never really felt scared or threatened. And going on to some of these safaris and being able to see, lions and elephants and giraffes and all these different animals in their natural habitat and not actually in a zoo, to me, it was completely, again, like jaw-dropping, mind-blowing. It was just felt so surreal being in their habitat, in their nature, and just seeing them out in the wild and about and just not in cages. Again, seeing animals in cages versus seeing these animals out in the open like that, I felt was completely different. They looked different. They felt different. Their eyes looked very different in that sense.
And just going back to your point about not everything is what you see on TV, what is the first thing you think of when I mention like Colombia as a country?
Pablo Escobar, cocaine, and I mean, those two are pretty much go hand in hand. But I have been to Colombia as well, and it's amazingly beautiful there.
Right? It's like people there are actually like very nice, right? Like
so nice, so friendly. When we went to the clubs, everybody there just wants to dance, and to them, it's just girls would just grab any random guys just to dance, and guys would grab girls and just dance, and with no ulterior motives, just to dance. And they're just happy-go-lucky people who are enjoying the wonderful weather, the food there, the climate there. Again, it's quite amazing, Colombia.
Right, and it's pretty interesting to see that even if they are not quote unquote a wealthy nation or a westernized nation, the fact that people there are very happy with what they have really goes to show you, like it's just a matter of perspective at what makes you happy there.
Yeah, that's absolutely what it is. And talking about another country, Costa Rica. So we went to Costa Rica last year with Kathy and the two girls for the first time, and we absolutely fell in love with Costa Rica. The reason why is because, again, we've traveled quite a bit where we've gone to a lot of big cities. So we're used to big cities, nice big restaurants, big tall buildings, cars, everything fancy this, fancy that. So we're very used to that. But when we got to Costa Rica, it was completely opposite in the sense that, not to say that it's a third world country, but a lot of the parts was not developed yet. So it was not fully developed. And where we stayed at the near the Arenal volcano at the Springs and Spas Resort, where we stayed and we looked outside of our balcony, we only saw green trees for as far as the eye could see. I could not see one building. And then thinking back on it, I'm like, man, I don't know when was the last time I stayed at a place where it was just greenery all around. I felt like I was inside of a forest pretty much. And again, being someone being a city boy coming from a city and being used to all these big skyscrapers, not having a building or a house in sight or in view and only greenery around was very surreal for us. We've
Yeah.
never seen anything like that before.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting because I could say the same thing about Puerto Rico, where I've been to visit as well. I'm not sure if you've been there, but basically over there, they're kind of like, the neglected U.S. state. I guess you could say. I mean, it has like a different vibe there. The people there are different. Like I wouldn't even consider them like a typical American in the sense that like over there they have a huge sense of community in Puerto Rico. They have unfortunately suffered an immense amount of pain, not just from political aspects, but also from natural disasters. And while I was there, it was pretty interesting to see them rebuild because at the end of the day, they're not getting massive amounts of help to restore basic things like electricity and water. You have these local guys with their own ladders going up to try to fix power lines. Like it's pretty amazing the stark differences. And I would never have known that had I never been to Puerto Rico before.
So again, traveling and seeing all these things really opened your eyes or people's eyes to, again, how tough it is. Some people have it in their countries, and whatever problems we have at home as North Americans, I feel it's a lot easier or different type of tough than what they're facing sometimes, right? So I mean, for us, even though life sucks sometimes, just when you go outside, again, one of the biggest things for me when it comes to traveling is that we are super lucky to be where we are, because when you go to certain countries where it's war torn and some people are just literally out there having a coffee with a friend, and then they never know if a missile or nuke is going to come down or a bomb is going to explode and they're going to die for no reason. And for us to not have that fear lingering over us when we're just walking on the streets, looking at the clear blue skies and enjoying our little walks in the park, we never have to think or worry about that. And again, we take that for granted. But because I've seen and some of these things before and traveled to some of these countries, it's really opened my eyes up to the point of, hey, you know what? My life here is fucking fantastic. And I will never complain about what my problems are here, because whatever my problems are, that it's minuscule compared to what a lot of other people are going through. And some of these, again, with all of this, it's just pure chance and luck as to which country you're born in and who your parents are, really, right? So again, it all comes back down to luck.
Right. Yeah. At the end of the day, like our generation above were also like refugees. Like my mom and my dad came as like a sponsor. They were sponsored to Canada back in the Pierre Trudeau government days. And I mean, it's crazy to think that one brave move that our grandfather made to actually bring the family over to Canada made all the difference. And our lives are completely different because of that.
It's so crazy. Like one decision completely changed the lives of how many people, all of our grandparents' kids, grandkids, all of our spouses, all of our kids. I mean, we don't know where we would be if our parents never decided to leave Vietnam to come to Canada. Again, so fortunate to be here. So that's why every day I'm super appreciative of life, and I have very little to no complaints at all.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, like when you think about the kind of problems that we have to deal with, like people not wearing a mask on an airplane, like things like this, these are not problems. These are just, people who
Yeah.
are like the current state of flying. I mean, yeah, it sucks. There's a lot of rules, like it's very hard to internationally travel right now, but these problems are not problems.
No, not at all. And again, I don't know if I'm just someone who, again, though I said I'm a rule breaker, but certain things I do follow the rules. For example, the whole wearing the mask, the whole disinfecting your hands, don't touch this, don't touch that. For me, you know what? I'm okay with doing all of that. Like it's you spread less germs. Everyone's trying to, work the best way possible in this pandemic that no one wants is the reality of it. So again, if there are just a few rules that we all have to follow to try to have a bit of a normalized life again or normalized traveling again, I'm all for it, and the thing is, there's a lot of people that are saying, oh, I don't want to take the vaccine because, I heard that inside the vaccine, there's something in there where it can track you and they can do all these crazy stuff inside of you. Like pretty much, honestly, I'm at this point right now where I'm ready for the government to stick an iPad up my ass if they want to track me, just to let me go travel right now. So I'm really tired of staying at home and I want to go travel. And I'm okay if they want to stick anything inside of me just so I can go do it right now, man.
Hey, but when you get your vaccine, let me know if you've suddenly find the urge to buy a Microsoft Surface or something. Bill Gates is all up in there, I'm sure.
and with all this traveling, the reality is you just got to be smart about it, right? Be cautious, be smart, be clean, and you don't have to be fearful. And to be honest, actually, when I went to Toronto a few months ago for Grandpa's passing, when I was at the Toronto airport, after I landed, there was literally like 7 people in the whole airport in the baggage area. So to me, I'm like, fuck, there's a lot less people in the airport than there is at the grocery store. So the chance of actually catching something, in my opinion, again, is much higher at a grocery store than at an airport nowadays, because there's so little people traveling. And again, everything is so spaced out. So I'm really not too worried about traveling myself.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I'll be honest with everyone here. I have done a considerable amount of domestic flying during the pandemic. I even flew on a plane on April 2020 when things were really getting out of hand and everything started locking down for the first time, because back then I also had commitments between Calgary and Toronto. So I had to fly back and forth between Toronto and Calgary. But throughout those times, I've actually never really felt like I was in any sort of danger. You just really need to fly smartly. At the end of the day,
Yeah.
you just got to be cautious, be smart, be clean, do what you can to, prevent unnecessary contact on anything. There, just follow the rules, ensure other people are too, and everything will be fine. I've flown at least like 12 legs of flights during this entire pandemic, and I have yet to contribute to this pandemic in any way.
But tell me, how many people were shitting on you when you were posting about all your flying?
Yeah, I mean, like, people are totally entitled to their own opinion. I'm not going to say that there's no risk when it comes to flying, but there is there is exposure to risk. Just like any time you go and walk outside your door, there's a risk of you catching anything at the grocery store, stuff like that. But the only thing you can really do is minimize your own risk. And if that means, sanitizing more often, or not touching handrails at the airport anymore, like little things like that, you would think is, just little, but at the end of the day, it does make a difference, because your hands are touching less things, you're touching your face less, you have a mask on the entire time. There is nothing necessarily to be afraid of, but at the end of the day, yes, there are risks, but hey, if you are willing to accept those risks, the best you can do is just minimize the chance of you catching anything by being smart. That's
Yeah, I
all.
totally agree with you with all of this. Also, again, it's one of those, everyone is entitled to their opinions. Everyone is kind of, not fully aware of COVID, how it works, how it worked back then when it first came out. Everyone was kind of like, fuck, like super scary. Can you just breathe and you catch it and you die? How does it work? No one knew. So everyone's being extra cautious. But now that it's been, I don't know how long it's been, maybe like 15 months since the pandemic or shutdown, everyone's kind of learned to be a bit smarter. And like you said, you kind of just have to figure out what your limits are, what your boundaries are, and just to be very smart about it. Don't go around licking random poles. Don't go around touching and hugging people that you don't know. Don't go, like, again, for me, the biggest thing is don't go to a club where there's 100 people you don't know and you're all just dancing around together, hugging and potentially passing it on. To me, that is super stupid and super risky. But going to an airport, traveling with you, yourself, or whoever it may be, 1 or 2 people, it's very, very, very safe that I've seen. And I have no problems traveling. Again, it's just one of those, just don't touch it if you don't need to, and try to always wear a mask and sanitize. Hand sanitize is the number one thing that you should be doing when you're traveling, I find.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like traveling within Canada has significantly less risk than, exposing yourself to another country at the moment. And Canada is a great place to explore. Whether you love the mountains in the West or you like the calm seas of the East. I mean, there's so much to do in this country. Like, take the time now to explore it. Like,
which is funny because we were supposed to go to Calgary, right? We had a big family trip where we had, I think, like almost 20 of us. We were supposed to go to Calgary. It was last year. But because of the pandemic, we had to cancel everything. And that really sucked. But again, I'm looking forward to traveling to, within Canada, Calgary soon. Funny enough, I have 120,000 points that I have to use before they expire in June or July. So it's been like maybe like a year and a half or so. I haven't really flown or haven't traveled. I haven't used the points. So it's about to expire. So right now I have 120,000 points. Phil, I'm going to come visit you, man.
Hey viewers, where should David go? What should he do with his points? Let us know.
That should be one of our polls. Maybe it's going to attract more people. All right, guys, these are the places. You guys choose where I'm going to go with the points, and I'm there. I'm going to film the whole thing. Yeah.
Speaking of allowing our viewers to be more interactive, as we mentioned in the beginning, we want to know what does Phil and Dave talk about that is so interesting that you will recommend us to other people? Is it blockchain? Anything specific about blockchain? Is it the business entrepreneurship insights or experiences that we give? Is it the lifestyle tips or the life hacks, or like this travel hack and stuff like that? Like, what is it that really allow us to be in your ears for 45 minutes every so often? Please let us know.
Absolutely. Again, reach out to us. Let us know. We have so many things we want to talk about. And again, if you guys have anybody who's, or even yourselves, you're interesting, you want to talk to us, you want to be on the show, hey, reach out to us. Let us know what you do, what you want to talk about, and we can have you on the show even.
Yeah, we have a lot of great content that we want to get out there, but we totally take your comments into consideration about what we record next. So let us know. All right. And just to wrap it up, that's pretty much it. You know how to find us, how to reach us, to let us know. That is knowyourpotential.com. That's NGOyourpotential.com is where you'll find all of the links to reach us. And if you can't find us through that way, then ask someone to help you. That's it from us this week. I'm Phil, and you want to end off there, David?
Yeah. So again, thank you very much for tuning in. Feel free to reach out to us. Let us know, let us know which are some of the favorite countries you've traveled to. Because again, we want to know where we should be going once, airplanes are pretty much safer to fly in, if you want to say that, or if we're allowed to fly. Let us know where some of the places we should visit, and we'll definitely go check it out. Thanks, guys. Have yourselves a good one.